So last week we talked about different types of breathing technique. So there are three different types of breathing technique. One is try to activate your body. We call it coffee breathing. And the breathing exercise is called breath of fire. So you breathe very quickly. And the second type is something we call water breathing. It balances your whole body and mind. So lots of them are very common in yoga practices, like belly breathing, the yogic breathing, which is three-part breathing, and then box breathing. So mostly they are inhale and exhale in the equal length. So that's balancing. When you exercise the water breathing category practices, it will bring your very agitated state to calm state, but it will also bring the very uh, say depressed mood to a more upbeat mood. So it has a balancing characteristic in that kind of breathing technique. And then the third category is the very relaxing category. We call it whiskey breathing because it's kind of like you drink some alcohol, you're kind of relaxed, you can, go to sleep. So the characteristics of this type of breathing technique is always exhale longer than inhale. So there are also techniques about internal, external breath retention, meaning when you finish exhale, you hold, or you finish inhale, you hold. So those are whiskey breathing types where it can calm your mood down very, very quickly. So it's really good if you have a very anxious state of mood, or have some sleeping issues. So you can use that before sleep, or you can use that to calm down your mind, to reduce anxiety and stress very quickly in matter of minutes. So those are three types of breathing technique we talked about last week. We didn't go into each very deeply, but it's basically setting out the knowledge why we can use different types of breathing technique in our daily lives to deal with different situations. So today we're going to talk about the nervous system. So they are autonomic nervous system, which is in our body, we usually don't pay attention to them. So one of them is called a parasympathetic nervous system. It's related to rest and digest. It's the system where we're going to be like more sluggish, more relaxed, being a couch potato. And the other one is called a sympathetic nervous system. Those are basically very much related to our survival instinct. It's a lot about like go, 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 do, do, do. So our usual daily life during our awakening hours, usually we have this sympathetic nervous system activated. We're very focused. We can if we want to, and we can be very, easily triggered, very reactive. So there are good and bad for both nervous systems, right? This is why we survive for so long, for millennia. So we can use our breathing technique, the slow breathing and fast breathing, to balance our life. And we're trying to find the yin and the yangs of our life, right? Being balanced is something always better than just imbalance, because hormonally, when we behave certain way, we also produce hormones, especially like stress hormones. It's without your control, it produced based on your behavior. So we can use breathing techniques to basically control our life in very precise manner. And in Sanskrit, this is called a pranayama. Prana is actually life force, and yama is a control. So on the loose definition of pranayama, which is breathing technique, you are basically controlling your life force within you. And that's why it's very, very important that if we could do that, then our life can be much more balanced and much more at ease, which ultimately bring happiness. So we reviewed something we did last week, and then what we can do is we just do a little bit practice together to have a sense of how breathing can influence our body. So in order to have our breathing more effectively, oftentimes we have to do some moving. So that's what we call asana in yoga. In the eight-limb path of, the Patanjali eight-limb path of yoga, asana, which is the exercise portion of yoga, comes before the pranayama. So we'll prepare our body for our breathing so that when we use the breathing techniques, our body can get actually more effective from that pranayama exercise. So first, just let's sit either cross-legged or however you sit comfortably. So the key is to keep the spine straight and then relax your shoulders back. Gently close your eyes or soft gaze. Slightly tuck your chin to chest so your back of the neck is aligned with your spine. Let's just take this water category of breathing, which is inhale and exhale, same length. We start with a little faster and then we go a bit slower. So I'll count for you. Inhale, exhale, both through nostrils. Inhale, exhale, inhale. If it helps, you put your left hand on your belly to do this. Continue this. Feel your belly rise when you inhale and belly fall when you exhale. And when we do belly breathing, this is called diaphragmic breathing. And then release your hands. And gently open your eyes. So we'll do some side bend. I'll move toward back so maybe you can see me. I'm sitting on the bolster just because it's easier for me to get my spine straight. So we just do side bends. Reach your right hand out to the right side, left arm to the ceiling, and then just gently bend to your right, or whichever you feel it's the right way. Sometimes we mirror, sometimes we don't. Yeah, and then sway to the other side. Left hand down, right arm up. So as you bend, try to see if you can feel your rib cage on the side. Have that sensation. Just focus on the sensations. Sway left and right one more time each side. And then next time you come to the first side, stay there. So now when you stay here, you can put your palm down, look up to the ceiling if your neck is fine, and just let your upper elbow bend. As you bend, feel the sensation around your rib cage. If your left elbow bend, feel your left rib cage. And now continue your normal breathing just for 3 more breathing cycles. Now change sides. Do it very gently. Left hand down, right arm up, and then tilt to your left side. As you feel your right side of the rib cage, Now bend your right elbow, your upper arm, and sense that change of sensation as you bend your upper arm, elbow. And maybe look up to the ceiling. 3 more normal breathing. And inhale, come back to center. Just hands on the thighs. Stay here for 3 breaths. Feel the expansion of your side rib cage. Okay, then we'll do some forward for our back of the spine and chest opening. Actually, I like my blanket a lot more. You can change the crossing this time if you want. And then walk your hands forward. So walk your fingertips forward as far as you can, and then put palms onto the floor and start to round your spine very gently. As you round your spine, we're trying to open the back side of our rib cage. Tiny, tiny round of the spine. We're opening the shoulder blades from each other. Relax your head and neck. And then walk your palms back to your torso and keep walking to the back of your buttocks. You can be on fingertips. I'm just be on fingertips. Lift the chest. Just lift the chest. And then feeling the shoulder blades go toward each other. Yeah. If your neck is okay, you can gently let your head go back. But no strain. It's all relaxed off your head and neck. Feeling the chest open. And then slowly walk your hands back to center. Head come up straight. And now we're gonna open a little more by doing the eagle arms. So put your right arm under the left, and you can interlace the fingers, or you can just grab the opposite wrist. So on the inhale, lift your elbows toward the sky, and just feel your shoulder blades part away from each other. You're stretching those tiny muscles behind your back. And keep lifting without really any strain, by feeling the sensation. Your face is right in front of your elbows. And then gently lower down your elbows. Change stay the same shape of the arms. And then as you round your upper spine, we are opening a little more of our rib cage. So we stay a bit more upper back round. Just feeling the sensations. And relax your shoulders. And then next inhale, slowly lift up, and exhale, release your hands. And then you can put your hands, interlace fingers behind your buttocks, roll your shoulders back, lift the chest, just open your chest. If your head and neck is okay, then you can let your head go back. Maybe you can straighten your elbows if that's not straightened. And maybe just try tiny bend of your elbows to see the sensation change as you move into different shapes. Feeling your shoulder blades go toward each other. And then release your hands back to your thighs and knees. Keep your eyes closed. Stay here for a few moments. Relax your shoulders. Feel that spaciousness of your rib cage that provides the potential capacity for your lungs to grow its capacity. Now gently open your eyes. So that's what we usually can prepare for our more vigorous ways of breathing technique. So I want to emphasize this because a lot of times we take breath for granted, but we can do so much and we can feel very different just by 5 minutes of um, short exercise, and it just opens up our entire being, right? You can feel a little more, uh, how to say, not so groggy, and just feeling, I'm here, you're more present. And this is why just few minutes can really prepare. So the important part of the next breathing technique is yogic breathing. So it's a three-part breathing. So the first inhale is like you expand your belly and then expand your chest. And then the last part is the collarbones. So the collarbone kind of lift. So if you just look at me, probably it's very hard to see with my I'll take it off. So if I sit sideways or with an angle, so the first part is inhale, belly expand, and then chest expand, and then collarbone expand. So it's called a three-part breathing. So you're breathing about maybe 60% to your belly, and then the next 20% to your chest, and then the next 10% will be from lifting, tiny lift of collarbone. So you're like expanding when you inhale. And when you exhale, just slowly each step go down. It's it's probably difficult to really distinguish each part at the very beginning. That's why it takes practice. So what you need to do is just to visualize your breath. The lung isn't in the belly, right? So we're not actually getting air into our belly. The only way is when belly expand, your diaphragm contract, so it actually creates more space for the lungs to take in air. So therefore, the shape of your body looks like your belly goes out. And whereas when you exhale, you're shrinking your entire torso. And when you shrink, it goes down, it goes in, the belly goes in. It can be as vigorous as your belly goes into the spine and push the air out. So we can utilize our muscles in our body, lots of muscles in our body, in order to create certain type of breathing, and certain type of breathing will benefit our state of being in different ways. So we can use our hands as a guide sensation. You put your left hand on the belly, right hand on your chest. So close your eyes, just start to breathe. It doesn't matter how long is your inhale and exhale. Do it at your own pace and sense your belly rise when you inhale, chest rise when you inhale, and even collarbone rise, like reaching your crown to the sky. And when you exhale, just melt everything inward, down. Just feel that sensation of inhale, expand, exhale, melt. So keep your inhale and exhales equal length. If you cannot feel the entire three parts, it's okay. We're developing sensations of our own body. So that's what mindfulness is developing the awareness. Now release your hands, open your eyes. So this is a three-part yogic breathing. If you went to a yoga class, sometimes teachers practice that. And then the other part to add on top of these, right, three-part yogic breathing is to use a ujjayi breath. So ujjayi breath is kind of like fogging a mirror. It's also called oceanic breath. So like put your left hand in front of your face, open your mouth, you do do the inhale and exhale both through the throat, and your throat feels that. For inhale is a little bit harder, and when you inhale, you kind of feel this cool, dry air. The throat doesn't feel good, right? So this is why generally the nose is for breathing, the mouth is for eating. So normal situations, try not to breathe through mouth unless certain times if you breathe out through mouth, it's okay. But never breathe in through mouth. You know, people who have sleep apnea, when they sleep, they open the mouth because they're not breathing through the nose. They actually have like that kind of it's a considered an illness, right? When it's very serious, they can actually choke themselves. So that's a side story. You can actually tape your mouth when you sleep, gentle tape. So you're kind of forced through using through the nose, and that's one very remedial treatment, which is very effective for sleep apnea. Side story. So now we're going to incorporate the ujjayi breath, which is both in and out through the nose, but tiny constrict your throat, the back of your throat. So now try this. The reason you also need to stay straight spined, that your pipe are like not bent, right? We're trying to make the pipe straight so things can flow well. When we say things, actually now in the physical format, it's air, but in the unphysical format, it's energy. So we have energy through a flow through our body. So now let's try that ujjayi breath. So the ujjayi breath, you go through the back of your throat. Only you can hear that sound of ocean. So but I can amplify it so maybe you can hear. So it sounds like this. So Just try it. It doesn't have to be one step, you get everything. So you can put your left hand on belly, right hand on the chest, and think about the three part. Basically, don't think, just visualize. Just do it. And then practice the back of throat, tiny constriction. Let's just do 3 breaths at your own pace. Let's start. Release your hands, return to your normal breathing. Just sense your body. And then gently open your eyes. So that's only 3 breaths, right? So we're adding on the 3 parts yogic breathing, adding on the Ujjayi breath. So why do we do that? So this breathing technique actually activates your parasympathetic nervous system. So what does it mean? It's a mouthful. Parasympathetic nervous system is to calm you down, right? So when you're in a stressful or anxious state of mind, state of mood, you can use this kind of technique to reduce that. The reason is this whole part, like around from the back of your neck all the way to your diaphragm, there is something called the vagus nerve. So that's like the biggest nerve. It's more multiple nerves, but it's called the vagus nerve. So that vagus nerve is essential and the foundation of your parasympathetic nervous system. So when we breathe this way, we are actually activating that nervous system so that it can bring your anxiety down, reduce your stress. And the back of the throat, when we use the back of the throat and lightly constrict, we are also activating our vagus nerve. So this is why it's actually very scientific, even though seems like it's very yogi. So I'm going to give you a small presentation. So okay, and so we have autonomic nervous system, which means they're automatic. You know, your lots of muscles in your body that they do it at their own rhythm, right? Your heart rate, your digestion, and you actually breathe normally. And normally meaning all these are without your deliberate control. So they are actually controlled by your nervous system. So one is called sympathetic, one is called parasympathetic nervous system. Okay, that's right. So this big nerve, which you can see, this is a human, a real human, and they have that exhibitions a number of years ago. Actually, it's from China. They basically use as a educational, but rather it's another ethical problems how they made this human body into this form in a specific procedure. So you can see these nerves really, really precisely. And the middle one from the back of the throat all the way to the stomach region, it's the vagus nerve. And normally we have just thinking in the parasympathetic, very mindful and relaxation state. We just visualize a monk on the top of the mountain, and not being disturbed. But we cannot do that in our modern daily life, right? So what can we do? We can actually use our breathing technique to activate this so-called rest and digest nervous system. So if you have a food baby, you finish your wonderful meal, you start to feel very relaxed. You feel like couch is the most attractive thing in the world, right? So your heart rate start to decrease, and there are much more blood flow into your stomach because for survival needs, your stomach is really in need of your blood and GI tract for your digestion. And your pupil actually, it's better for shorter range of vision. It's no longer range of vision. That's for survival too, because when we're in a very nervous state and we're trying to detect threats, we actually can see a lot further than we're in a relaxed state. And then when we're really relaxed, we become sexually more arousal than we are not. So that's why actually when people have sexual drive problems, or they don't want to have sex because they are in a very anxious state, this called a sympathetic state, they are fighting, right? They need to focus. They're not thinking about making babies. So this is embedded in our millennia of genes. It's not something we are consciously aware of. So when we're in this fight or flight response, we actually can't go, right? So when people are more stressed in daily life, they actually have constipations. I myself experienced that too. And when doctors tell people, say, maybe you're too stressed, people don't believe because we cannot see nervous system, right? But our body respond to our nervous system. So when we're in the fight or flight, our heart rate actually increases. I personally had experience of such just a couple weeks ago. I read something and I get into that very defensive state of being, which is a fight or flight response. And my heart rate actually increased. Like I can just feel like. So I didn't fight a big cat. Like there's no threat around me. I'm simply reading paragraph of someone has written. So even that, our nervous system can respond. It's like not how I can control 100% of time. But as I realized that, I'm like, okay, I need to calm myself down. I don't need to react to that, right? So I basically close my eyes, sit there, breathe 5 minutes, and then I'm completely calm. And then when I reread this paragraph, I have a different perspective. And this is what amazing about breathing can do for your well-being, because it actually can broaden your perspective of a paragraph of words. That's very interesting. Yeah, so, but when you have this fight or flight, and it's when you have, say, sexual orgasm, because that's like the climate, right? The climax, right? So both nervous system has its use. It's not one or the other is good or bad. So the key is how we balance, right? So how we balance, we use our breath. Our breath in terms of inhale, we're actually strengthening, where we can be expansion. So the sympathetic response is activated. And when we inhale, we feel bigger, we feel stronger, we feel like we can fight, you know. So that's when we inhale, we have the yang, the very outgoing kind of response. And then when we exhale, we're kind of like start to relax. We're opening up our heart. We're not defensive. We're not building walls, right? So, and that is why you can relate to another person very differently. When you are in the fight or flight mode, your defense, then you're like closed off. Like, I'm not listening to you. You're not even taking another person's words into your head or heart when we're in the defensive mode. Right? That's your nervous system response. But when you do exhale, long exhale, when you activate your parasympathetic response, you start to open up. You're less defensive because you can be vulnerable, right? When you're vulnerable, you start to feel another person's feeling, which we call that empathy. So you actually can cultivate your empathy through breathing exercise. So this is why, from science to practice to actually daily application to your situation and life, these are tremendous benefit and for very small effort because it's all under your nose. So this is why I'm here, and I feel when I can benefit from the breathing so much, right? I can balance my life. I can feel so much at ease and so much contentment, and ultimately, it's what we are trying to find in life for our happiness. So why not? Breathing is accessible to everyone. As long as you're living, you're breathing. So, what we want to do, another thing I want to mention is heart rate variability. So, we normally don't talk about this unless you are in, more athletic and you're very into, the health coaches, fitness coaches have talked with you about heart rate variability, and certain instruments, they do measure your heart rate variability. So normally we think, okay, it's steady rate, I'm about 59 to 62 beats per minute normally. Think it's good, but the heart actually needs some response, so it's healthier in terms of your entire body, right? So when you inhale, actually you expand your entire being. Your heart rate actually increases for that split of second. You might not notice, but when you exhale, your heart rate reduces. It sounds really weird. It sounds like when you inhale, you go, and then when you exhale, you go, right? But overall, the heart rate variability, it actually is a metric for your heart health. So it's also a metric for your nervous system health, right? So those are a few things I want to mention. The last one is vagus nerve. I mentioned first. It's the 10th cranial nerve, whatever that means. It's just really long, from your cranial back of your head all the way to your digest system around your belly. So this vagus nerve is responsible for your parasympathetic response, which is calming down, relax, be at ease. You can be feeling like you're in the woods, in a mountain, at your home, or in a coffee shop if you can just use your breathing techniques to activate your parasympathetic nervous system through the vagus nerve. So, the vagus nerve passing through the opening of the diaphragm, which is in here. So if you don't know where the diaphragm actually is a muscle. It's a big muscle that looks like a parachute. It's inside of your rib cage, just under. It protects your organ inside of your rib cage. So, like any muscles, it can be trained. And sometimes, it can be tight. So, where you feel here is tight, is your diaphragm can be tight. And as you expand and contract, and relax and contract, you're exercising your diaphragm. So it goes like this, like a parachute, right? So when you exercise the muscles inside your body, and then you can breathe much at ease because there's no like blocks, right? So let's say if our rib cage is your house, right? You can only do so much in your house. So now if you say, okay, I want to do a little more, now you have to build a bigger house, right? So when we exercise these asanas, we're actually exercising the little muscles between your rib cages. They call intercostal muscles. So when you exercise the intercostal muscles in between your rib cage, then your rib cage can expand bigger, right? So this is why the asanas, the yoga practice, it exercise your muscles, and then you can breathe, and the breathing will activate your nervous system, and your nervous system will deal with your daily life. So this is how amazing this breathing and our body, like our nervous system, is really amazing. So it's stimulated by deep breathing. So the 3 parts yogic breathing plus your ujjayi breath, it entirely can really activate the parasympathetic nervous system. And it says breathing promotes vagal tone. I mean, let me say that's a jargon. It's kind of your muscle tone. You can do exercise to build your muscles. You can do breathing to tone your vagus nerve. And your high vagal tone is equivalent to your responsiveness to environment, which means you have the capacity and ability to adapt, right? A lot of time we struggle is because we can't adapt or we are not willing to adapt. But if we choose to exercise our flexibility mentally, bodily, and then we can adapt to the environment, that means we can be at ease, right? We're not always fighting anymore because we can adapt to whatever situation it comes to us. So that is the science part of our breathing workshop. And do you have any questions?
I think this was great. I want to say thank you so much the way you explained things, your presentation. I'm so glad I made it. And I'm so sorry that I missed last week's, but I just saw it. Sometimes you see the event late.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
may I ask a question actually now that I'm blabbing? um,
please.
so I don't know, like how you mentioned with the rib cage, how because I've thought of that too. When you're inhaling, there's you said when you're inhaling, there's contraction of the diaphragm, which is
Yes,
inside the rib cage. Um,
underneath.
underneath, so yeah, okay, underneath the rib cage, and our rib cage or something actually expands. But do our rib cage, the bones or whatever, are they bones? Do they actually
Yeah,
move, or is it? Oh, they do. Okay.
feel it. So put your hands here. When you inhale, they change shape, right?
Yeah, I
When
feel,
you
I
exhale,
feel, yeah. Yeah, it's
yeah.
amazing. And that's what I always thought. And then I heard someone say that they actually don't move because they're bones. Like it just, so I got confused, but yeah, I feel the expansion. Yeah. And it feels
Yeah,
amazing when you connect to that expansion. Like it just feels so nourishing.
absolutely. You know, you are using your breath to nourish your body. And this is why it's not just air we're breathing energy, right? And it's about how you convert that energy. Because even when I read a paragraph and then I reactive to it, it's an energy inside of my body that responded to it. It's string of words. What can you say? But when you interpret, your nervous system start to react. So after that, what you can do, before I know breathing technique, I'm like, that sucks, right? I'm just going into the negative emotion about why I get this kind of words, right? So, but now I know, okay, I don't have to stay in that state of mind. So let me use this technique. It's a tool, right? The tool is, okay, now I go to my toolbox. What do I do? Probably, 10 years ago, I'm just going to eat ice cream. When you're upset, you eat ice cream, right? Most people. But now you're like, okay, ice cream is still in the toolbox. I don't have to use it. Now I can use breathing. It's better for my health. And so that's so effective because eating ice cream is actually suppressing the symptoms, but using breathing actually gives you much more clear mind and less defensive because your defense comes from the sympathetic nervous system. You're like, I'm defense, I'm defense, I'm right, you're wrong. Whereas when you activate your parasympathetic nervous system, you start to see people don't have to be right, but you don't have to agree, right? A lot of time we blame ourselves, we get upset because if I cannot agree with you, one of us is wrong. But the key is it doesn't matter, we can be both wrong. And so what? When you think that way, that's a different perspective. Because breathing activated my parasympathetic nervous system, when my clear mind says, I don't have to be right, he doesn't have to be right, and I don't have to blame him, I don't have to blame myself. So now I'm at ease. Now myself adapt to the situation that much at ease without feeling defensive. So basically, in our life, our sympathetic nervous system for the fight and flight, defensiveness is the most prominent symptom.
Wow. I love how you just said that. What an yeah, defensive. Wow. Like it makes me see things so different now when I get upset. So I feel like of course I've been defensive as well at times and I'm practicing how not to, etc. But I get triggered with my husband, for example. He is constantly on the defense, and I'm like, stop it. And by you saying how you said it, it's kind of helping me kind of be a little more patient, which is what I try to practice, but it's hard sometimes with your husband.
Yeah,
That it's just like really an eye opener, you know. Thank you so much.
you're welcome, Beatrice.
And you
So I
can,
think, go ahead.
sorry, I don't, I want to respect your time, but I'm like being that it, and if you can answer it another time or whatever, but I've noticed I use some of my tools and I thank God for the tools that I've learned, because otherwise who knows where I would be with me with anxiety, stress, etc. But what I do notice, a new thing as I become aware of my body more and more, the constriction of my throat actually is a bit more active, right? So, and I just realized that today also, even just talk, like I've been struggling how to relax, just to breathe in like more, even more smooth and with ease, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So that's a very good question, actually. So about your throat, right? So throat is something in yoga really significant. It's this chakra that represents voice. And I have also discovered when I feel like I don't have a voice, I have a constrict in my throat. And that's really amazing. Our body respond. This is like why nervous system is something we don't see, but it's a converted energy to make your feeling and emotion very differently, right? And think about when we a situation sometimes when we're very angry, we actually can't speak because our, especially if we're combating with someone who's very strong, who we feel like we cannot fight against, right? It doesn't have to be literally strong, but maybe their voice is very, very strong. And then the throat just feel like I can't speak. Tightness, the tightness in your throat. And that is also part of the nervous system response. So there are ways of opening and soothing your throat. And only if you relax your throat, actually you can speak a lot more, even eloquently, right? Because when we, our defensive, the sympathetic nervous system are active, we're like in defense mode. When we're in defense mode, all we do is protecting ourselves and also finding faults of the other. So when we relax and we have a different perspective, our throat relax, we can actually speak in a very non-defensive way. So yeah, so this is how our nervous system and breathing can help to switch between the nervous system to deal with environment and deal with our daily lives. And breathing is under your nose. And
I'm
one
going to
thing you
use
can,
that. I'm so sorry. I'm going to use that. And it's right under your nose. I mean, I love it.
absolutely, yeah, yeah, it comes with when you're born. It goes away when you die, right? So might as well be friend with it.
Well,
We
you
have,
guys, how can I
mm,
reach out to you? Like for the recording of the first week that I missed?
I will send to you. I have sent to, let me just check my email if I have received your, um, I didn't receive, let me see. Um, why don't you give me your email right now? Let me just send an email to, oh, let me see. Uh, that's not it. What's your email, Beatrice?
So it's actually all together, but in lowercase, but just how you see it on my screen, Beatrice on a journey at gmail.com.
Beatrice on the journey. Beatrice on the journey. Beatrice on the journey. Okay, let me just send a test for now. I didn't see your registration.
Hmm.
Interesting.
And maybe I did it with another email address because when I'm not sure what I'm signing up to, I use another email address because I don't want.
Yeah, I can
But
understand. Let me see.
obviously, after hearing you and seeing you and meeting you, I'm like, yes, have my real email address. Um,
You're,
happy yoga.
do you
Yes,
practice yoga?
yes. Yeah, I actually teach yoga too. I'm a yoga teacher.
Oh, great. Oh, great. Yeah, that's so awesome to have fellow yoga teachers.
And we're always learning and growing, right?
Absolutely. I think To me, I'm forever students. I'm just starting teacher, beginner teacher. Start forever students.
The
Always
beginner
keep
mind.
beginner's mind. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Um, One other thing, Beatrice, do you, because when I do recording, I'll send to the students who participated, but it's possible people who will come next will have to request for recording for this session. Do you mind you will be in the recording?
Sure. Next time I'll make sure to fix myself better.
No
No, I'm
worries.
sorry. Yeah,
Yeah.
that should be fine. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. It's okay to not. I can just cut out, and so it's not a problem for me. It's really
Mhm.
up to you.
Let me practice my throat chakra. Maybe for today, I guess. Maybe if you don't mind taking me out, unless it's going to really help you. If you say be, and then I think I'll feel safe, and because I'm trying to do better, right, for the
Yeah.
world, so to say. If you think this is going to help you and it's going to help, whoever sees it, then by all means use it. If not, then just you can take me out. I
I
know
think
that's
your question is like wonderful questions,
okay.
really. Yeah. So I always feel like when people participating live, they get a lot more than they just watch recordings.
For sure. I agree. Go for it.
Well, okay. Thank you so much for participating, Beatrice. Wish you well. Sending you love and light from my heart to yours through the internet.
Thank you, Mary.